Yeah, I know. What's that? Someone's watching. Oh. Well, hello! I didn't see you there. Anyways, hi, I'm ELUCHU. You can call me Emily, and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a March bullet journal plan with me. March. I did it again. I'm refilming this because I said March before. Today's video is going to be an April bullet journal. Get ready with me. Yes, I really had a great fun time. I really had a fun time doing this theme. I've actually done something very similar to it before in the past on my own, and I kind of updated it and I really like how it turned out. Just so you know, all of the supplies that I will be using in this video will be listed down below in the description. And lastly but not leastly, if you're new here, welcome, love to have ya. If you don't mind seeing my face again, if you would like to see more videos from me, go ahead and click that Go ahead and click that subscribe button. We're a small but close little family, so we'd love to have you here. Alrighty, okay, you ready? Alright, let's get into it. Alrighty folks, let's jump right on in. Normally when I try to find a theme for my bullet journal spreads, I tend to base it off of whatever holidays are happening in the month. However, April Fool's Day was the only thing I could think of, and that's not really much to work with. So I decided to go with lined notebook paper as my theme. I know it's kind of out of the blue, but I actually attempted this theme last April on my own, and although it didn't turn out amazingly, I figured I would give it another shot, and I'm really happy with how it turned out this time around. So as you can see here, I wrote out the name of the month, April, not March, with a lighter colored marker, and then I went in with a darker blue fine lined pen, and I outlined everything and then scribbled everything in to kind of give it that sketchy notebook taking notes feel. I also went in and added a drop shadow with a yellow marker to just kind of give everything a little bit more depth. My style tends to be on the more minimalistic side, so rather than doodling a ton a la Amanda Rach Lee, I tend to keep things relatively simple and use stickers to add some flair. So right here I am drawing out some lines for the lined paper as well as the red margin area, and then I go in and outline the entire page. I made the font for April a bit more messy than I normally would to try and make it look like ballpoint pen sketches that you'd see in someone's notebook. I also wanted to lean into the more sketchy, thrown together look rather than having all of my lines be perfect, ruler straight. Also, it would be awfully tedious to draw each line perfectly straight since there are a lot of lines to draw this month for this particular theme. So I added a mini calendar in the center of the page, and then I added a little sticker just to give some graphic interest to the rest of the page. Like I said, simple, easy to put together, nothing too complicated. Next up are my monthly spreads. So what I did here was I drew out my calendar and I used the red and blue colors as well to keep with the color scheme. Unfortunately, as you can see, I made a bit of a boo-boo and I had to white out a misplaced line. Because the paper in this notebook is more cream than white, it's a little more visible than I would like. But if bullet journaling has taught me anything, perfectionism will not help with productivity, so I kind of just figured I would leave it, even though you've got a pretty obvious white line there, but it's okay. I also used my yellow marker to draw areas that looked a little bit like sticky notes, and I thought that was a really cute idea, especially since I have sort of a stationery theme, you know, stationeryception. I also thought it would be fun to make the A in April an A+, since I heavily associate notebook paper with school, and April is also when I remember spending a lot of time studying for final exams, so I figured that it would be appropriate. Although I use a slightly different font this time around, I use the same method of writing out the letters that I need and then outlining them with a darker blue marker to give it that scratchy feel. I added some drop shadows using both a gray and yellow marker. And then, of course, I added some stickers to fill in that dreaded white space. So I like to use my calendar to have a general idea of when things are happening, but I use a separate page where I write down my events to see what is happening more specifically. The calendar gives me time frame, whereas the events page gives me details. For this page, it's a really simple concept here. I just drew another sheet of lined paper, added dates in the margins, and of course added stickers. I also like to easily see when a new week is starting, so I drew a darker line to visually separate the weeks from each other. And of course I added my drop shadows as well as doing the same sort of scratchy, I don't know what to call it, font outline marker thing that I did in the previous headlines. I love these stickers. I use them all the time, and I'll definitely be linking them below in my description box. Next up is my habit tracker page. Once again, I'm drawing out notebook paper as the main layout here. I do have a very specific and personalized layout for my habit trackers, but I'll try to give you a brief explanation of how it works. So as you can see here, I'm not really drawing the lines fully to the ends of the pages because I have some graph areas mapped out already. So on the left-hand side, on the y-axis, I suppose, I have the dates, and then towards the bottom, I am writing out numbers which measure out different things like water intake, which my goal is to have 60 ounces per day. And on that same graph, I measure out how I'm feeling in terms of my acid reflux, because I have pretty bad acid reflux and I like to keep track of that because it tends to influence my singing practice. So I have like a scale on 1 to 10 and I fill it out based off of how I'm feeling. I measure out my water intake, which I measure with a bar graph. And then on top of that, I layer a line graph, which is my reflux level. And so I just layer that on top. In fact, I can show you guys what this graph looks like when it's filled out. And then the other graph that's next to it, I measure amount of time spent exercising as well as studying my foreign languages. On the bottom, I have other habits that don't necessarily need tracking in amounts, just something to show that I did it. So I use this yellow marker again to draw mini sticky notes for my YouTube and Instagram tracking, email, and intermittent fasting. And to fill out these, I just highlight the date if I did that thing as I go along every time I finish the habit. I didn't really have any space to write out habit tracker or a headline, but I had this cute little sticker that says daily things to do, and I figured that was close enough. On the next page, I have a music tracker. I know that doesn't necessarily apply to everyone, but it's also a great way to track productivity. So you can use this for like studying time or, exercise time, but it's something to measure the actual amount of time that I spend doing things. But this is how I track my time spent practicing and memorizing music. It'll be a bar graph where I fill in how much time I spent practicing, and on top of that, I'll have a line graph overlaid for me to write down the quality of my practice, since the voice can be so fickle sometimes. Much like the habit tracker, in the margins, I'll have the dates written down, and below I have time and quality markers as well. I also drew lines to separate the weeks like I did on my events page. And here's also an example of what it can look like when it's filled out. And of course, I wrote a little key at the bottom. On the next page, I have the same thing as my music tracker, but this time it'll be a social media tracker. I've been curious to see how much time I spend editing videos every week, so I created a similar chart to track time spent. I kept with the notebook theme and added some more cute stickers. Nothing too complicated here. I kind of treat it like when you log in for work and you have your timestamps. And it's also really nice to see exactly how much time I'm spending on things, so I can figure out if I'm spending too much time, I can work on efficiency and things like that. On the opposing side, I have my YouTube brainstorming page. Rather than writing out a title for it, I simply drew a sticky note with my yellow marker with a YouTube play button on it. I added a paperclip sticker to give it a little more character as well. It's nice and simple, nothing too complicated here. This is just where I kind of brain dump ideas specifically for my YouTube channel. Speaking of which, on the next couple of pages, I have my scraps pages. I really like to have an area in my bullet journal every month to write down random notes or ideas, so this is kind of where I brain dump. Again, it's quite minimalistic, but I incorporated the theme by drawing some notebook paper on the left-hand side where I can write down list items like groceries, things I gotta do. And on the opposite side, I drew a simple piece of notebook paper and added stickers to tie everything together. This spread isn't meant to be complicated, it's just a space for me to get my thoughts down on paper. Finally, we are coming up on our weekly spread. So there are 4 elements that I like to have in each of my weekly spreads, and that's a calendar area for events, a daily area for each day for tasks that must be done on that specific day, a to-do list for things that can be done at any point in the week, and a notes area to write down random information that I need, like, I don't know, the address for my upcoming doctor's appointment, or shows that I want to watch that week, or the estimated arrival date for a package that I ordered. As you can see, I incorporated the theme into the spread by making the sections that I mentioned into either sticky notes or notebook paper. A trick that I like to use to give the illusion of paper in a drawing is to draw a folded corner to make things look less blocky and a little bit more scrapbooky and thrown together. So for the columns that are more vertical, those are actually going to be my calendar spaces where I write down events, and in the spaces between are where I write down my tasks for each day. The little index card looking area on the left side is my to-do list, and the sticky notes area on the right side is my random scraps area. The spread is really simple and functional, and after having bullet journaled for several years now, I can honestly say that this is a spread that gets a lot of mileage while being cute and fun at the same time. I decided to use the A+ April little font idea to fill in the white space in the bottom corner, and now I'm just writing out the separate areas for each day, and under each of those headers is usually where I write out my tasks. And now I'm just going in with a few extra details like some drop shadows and of course the occasional sticker to tie everything together. And with that, we are done with my April setup. Here's a flip through of all the spreads. As far as function, this is a pretty minimalistic setup that is geared pretty strictly towards productivity, but I love how the simple drawings of the lined paper, sticky notes, and stickers made this month so bright and approachable. It's super easy to recreate since you're essentially just drawing boxes and lines, but the colors make it seem more complex than they actually are. I really had a fun time putting together this month's theme, and I hope you like it as well. Alrighty folks, that is the video, and thank you so much for watching. I know it's not the most precise of executions, but I had a really fun time putting this together. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this month's theme. And if you have any other ideas for any future bullet journal or video ideas that you would like to see from me, let me know in the Let me know down in the comments. And once again, if you like this video, don't forget to click the thumbs up button and press subscribe if you're not already. We'd love to have you. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitch, and those will be listed in the description below as well. And with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful life. Please be kind to each other and stay safe out there. Alrighty? See you in the next upload. Bye! You up in